when you're dealing with word problems in algebra, the thing you got to remember is you're looking for some sort of an unknown factor. So something, whatever you're looking for is something you don't know, and you don't even know what the number is. So quite often we use a letter like X, or it could be S, it could be any letter of the alphabet really. But quite often what's used is X for some reason. So when you're looking at this first one, when a number is increased by 34, you're always looking for the word a number. So let's choose a letter to represent a number. So I'm gonna pick X to represent the number. And it says the number is increased by 34. Well, how do you increase a number? You add. That's increasing a number. So that's our number is increased by 34. And the result is 78. So whenever you see result, you know that you're going to have the equal sign. So whatever comes after that is on the equal sign. So now all you got to do is figure out what value for X will add to this to give you this. And the easiest way to do it, I often tell students to take the plus 34, it's a positive 34, you're adding it, and you want to take it away from this side, so you could go minus 34 from here, and they cancel each other out. I'd usually just say, just bring all this over here, and when you put it to the other side of the equal sign, it becomes opposite. So instead of plus 34, it becomes take away 34. So now you're left with just X on one side, and 78 take away 34, and what you'll end up with is 44 for your answer. And you can check your answer by just taking 44 and plugging it back into your original equation, which was 44 plus 34. So always look for keywords like increased by or decreased by or 1/2 or 1/3 of, and then look for result is or total or some words like that. Looking at this one, it says Luann read the same number of pages in her novel for 3 days. Okay, fair enough. So let's put the amount for 1 day. If we said X was the amount for 1 day, we don't know what it is. And then she read the same the next day. So that's X again. And then she read the same the next day, which is X again. So X plus X plus X. For 3 days, she read the same amount. So she had 3 X's. So we can just combine that. X plus X plus X is 3 X's. She finished the book on the 4th day by reading 52 more pages. So we can add 52 more pages. We still don't know how many pages she read each day. So we let X be that. And then we just added 52 pages to it. And then we want to say if there are 196 pages in the book, so that is your total. So whenever you see the word if there are 196 pages in the book, whenever you see that, you know that's your total. So the total always goes on the other side of your equal sign. So let's put 196 down. Now all you have to do is solve for X. So we got to find some value for X. So let's try to get X all by itself. Well, first we can get rid of the plus 52. How do you get rid of a plus 52? You take away 52 from this side. But whatever you do, you must do it opposite to, there we go, 52. So we're going to take 52 away from this side. So remember, depending on how your teacher tells you how to look at it, you can either just bring this plus 52 over to this side and it becomes negative 52, or you can just take away 52 from this side and it cancels it out, but then you must take away 52 from the other side, because whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So now you're left with 3x equals 196 take away 52. Well, 196 take away 50 would be 146. Take away 2 more, it'd be 144. And then all you got to do to get rid of the x, since that's 3 x's, that's 3 times x, I just divide it. So you do the opposite to cancel it out. Divide that by 3, but whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. And then you'll solve for x by just punching in 144 divided by 3. And then you'll know how much they read each day. Any of these problems where you've got perimeter, the key thing to remember is perimeter will always be a certain formula for certain shapes. So if I were to take this one right here, which is a triangle, what is the perimeter of a triangle going to be? It's going to be this side plus this side plus this side. So in other words, we're going to have to add up all three of those sides. So let's add up how many x's we have. We got 1, 2, 3 x's. Let's add up our numbers. We got plus 7 and plus 4. That should give us plus 11. And of course, our total for our perimeter, which is the distance around, is 74. Now we've got it pretty easy. All we got to do is get rid of this plus 11 first by bringing it to the other side and taking away 11. So he's gone if we take away 11, and then we take away 11 from the other side. So now we're left with 3x equals, okay, and we're left with 63. And to get rid of the 3 in front of the x, we simply, since it's, oops, I'm in some trouble with the mouse. Since it is take away or divided by, okay, this is times right here, so we're going to divide it by 3, and that'll cancel out that. But whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other side, and that is divide it by 3. So x will equal 21. Having some real problems with my mouse tonight. Okay, so if you want to know what each side was now, all you got to do is plug in 21 into x, and you'll get it. So this one's 21, this one should be 25, and this one should be 28. So remember, in any formula or any kind of a perimeter, remember, whenever you're told what the perimeter is, that's your total. And the total always goes on one side of the equal sign. So here's our total right away, is 48. Okay. And it says the width of a rectangle is 1/3 of the length. So we know that if we're going to do a rectangle, I'm going to draw a rectangle. So there's our rectangle. What do we know about a rectangle? This side is the same as this side, and of course this side is the same as this side, like that. So how do we add up the perimeter? We got to add up this side twice, and then we got to add up this side twice. So let's work it out. What is the width of the rectangle? Is 1/3 of the length. Well, here's our length. Okay, and where's our width? Our width is going to be 1/3 of it. So we could say the width is going to be 1/3 of the length. There we go. So there's what our width is, 1/3 of the length. So I'm going to use, for length, I'm going to use, let me see, I'm going to use the L. That'd be just as easy to use rather than X. So let's work it out. Here's our length. So I will say this is L, and this is L. Okay, and what would this be? This would be 1/3 L. My poor mouse. 1/3 L. There we go. So now all you have left to do to get rid of all of this is you just put this plus this. So you got 1, 2 L plus, let's see, we got 1/3 L and 1/3 L. Add them together, and we've got 2/3 L. First thing we don't like having these fractions down here on the bottom. They're not very much fun. So how do you get rid of that fraction on the bottom? you just simply times it by whatever the bottom of the fraction is. So in this case, it's 3. So if I times this up top by 3, and then of course I've got to multiply everything by 3, or I'm going to change the equation. And of course I've got to multiply this 48 by 3, or I'll end up changing that one too. So in other words, I just multiplied everything by 3, and I'll end up with 6L plus 2L equals whatever 48 times 3 is. So now I'm left with 8L equals 48 times 3, which is, I believe, 100 and, let me see, 120, 144. So I'll end up with 8L equals 144. So you can solve that just by punching it into your calculator and dividing each by 8. So the whole point is, whenever you're given any kind of a, oh, let's see if I can get this mouse working properly again. Oh my. Okay. Nope, gonna have to use the one on the laptop. So whenever you've got any kind of a formula, any kind of a shape, just remember what is the relationship between the sides. So in this one, the side was going to be 1/3 of it, and you knew you had 2 of them because it's a rectangle. For number 5, it says the perimeter of a regular hexagon. So right away, what's a regular hexagon? It's a 6-sided figure which has all the same sides. So if one side is x, how many of them do you have? 6 times that. So it's going to be 6x equals a total of 96 centimeters. And then all you have to do, once you got 96 centimeters, is divide each side by 6. Why are we doing that? Because 6x is really 6 times x. And to get rid of a times, we do a divide. So to get rid of it on one side, we must do the same to the other. Now, if we didn't know this was a regular hexagon, we'd be in trouble because we don't know all the sides are equal. So we wouldn't be able to figure it out. So we're looking at another one here. There were 12 times more children than adults. Okay, so how many adults do we have? We got X number of adults. So X is going to be the number of adults. We don't know how many, but we know that how many kids do we have? 12 times more. So it's going to be 12 times the number of adults, which is 12 times X. So once we determine what's going to be our X, then we just look at how many times more or how many times less or whatever the next one's going to be. So there were 12 times more children than adults at the matinee performance. So we've got X number of adults plus 12 times more children, and we have a grand total of 455 total. So 4, 5, 5. This is painful with just keyboard mouse. So now all you got to do is add your x and 12x, which will give you 13x. And then when you got 13x left over, just divide it by 13 and see what you solve for x. So that cancels out. Divide this by 13, of course. Let's see, what's 455 divided by 13? Let's try it out on the old calculator. It's 455 divided by 13, and oh, it works out nicely to 35. So our answer to that one, x is going to be 35. There we go. So x is 35, which means x represented the number of adults. So there's 35 adults, and there's 12 times that. So 12 times 35 will give you the number of kids. And you can check your answer just by plugging this back into x and then adding them up, and you should get 455 on this side and 455 on that side. So remember, this side is always your total, okay, the total amount, And this side over here is going to have a letter, and then you're going to have to do something to the letter again in order to solve it. This one here says the sum of three numbers is 81. So as soon as you see the word the sum, that means adding, and that's a grand total. Remember, the total goes on one side of 81. It says the second number is 4 times the first. Okay, so if the first number we're going to represent as x, because we don't know what it is, and we're going to add that to the second number, which was 4 times the first, it's going to be 4 times x, or just 4x. So now we know we're starting with the first number as x, the second number is 4 times that, and of course the third number is 3 more than the first. So we're going to have to go with the third number of 3 more than the first. So what was the first? First was x. So what's the second one going to be? X plus 3. And quite often you'll see them put in brackets just so that you don't forget that each one is separate. And you're going to have to combine them after. So now we know x plus 4x plus x plus 3 equals 81. Let's combine all the x's together. We've got one of them here, 4 of them here, and one of them here. So total is 6 x's, just like shown in your answer down here. So we've got 6 x's, and we've got 3 just kind of floating, and that's a positive 3, just floating. Now this is just solving it just like any other algebra problem. Right? By shifting this positive 3 over to the other side, and it becomes takeaway 3. And then dividing finally by 6 on each side. That'll be your final thing to do. And that's shown up here, as you can see. So again, what we got to figure out is what the total is, put that on its own side. Then figure out what the first number is, the one that we're going to compare all other numbers to, and then we decide on a letter for it. And usually we pick x, like I said before. A full-grown giraffe is about 6 times heavier than a full-grown lion. Okay, so let's pick the lion as our number, or our letter, sorry. So I'm going to say x is the lion. What's a full-grown giraffe? 6 times that. So it's going to be 6 times the x. So here's our lion, here's our giraffe, 6 times that. A full-grown cheetah is about 1/4 as heavy as a full-grown lion. So where's our full-grown lion? Is right here. So we need 1/4 as heavy. In other words, 1/4 of x. So now that we got what they all three of them are, this is our one that we're comparing everything else to. We're just going to start adding them up just like your teacher showed you here. So the only thing we don't want is we don't want that divided by 4. We don't want that 1/4. So to get rid of it, all your teacher did was multiply every single thing by 4. And that caused the 4 to cancel out there, leaving you at x. This was 24, and this one was 4x. When that was done, you just had to combine your x's together, and then bring your positive 4 over to the other side. So it's basically the same method every single time. You just got to figure out what's going to be x, what's going to be part of x, and then combine things and then solve it algebraically. Each of the equal sides of an isosceles triangle is 5 centimeters greater than the base. So if you remember what an isosceles triangle means, it means 2 sides are equal. So I'm going to draw it there. So we know 2 sides are the same. So this one and this one. And the base is the bottom, B and B. So I'm going to call this the base just by using the letter B. I could use X if I wanted, but it doesn't matter. And it says each of the equal sides of an isosceles triangle is 5 centimeters greater than the base. So if this is B, this one is B plus 5. And of course, on the other side is also B plus 5. So all we got to do to find out the perimeter is always the total. So all of those things will have to equal 46 centimeters. So what am I going to have? B plus B plus 5 plus B plus 5. And I can combine all my B's together to get 3 of them, which is what your teacher did here. And I'll add my positive 5 and positive 5 to get positive 10. And then the last thing your teacher did was simply shift this over to the other side. So this positive 10 now becomes take away 10. So you're left with 3b is 36, and then they divided by 3 on each side. The reason being, this 3 is really 3 times b. So to get rid of it, you divide it by whatever is in front of that b, and that will cancel it out, just like that. So once you know what b is, then you always know what the other things are because it's based on b. Okay, Jonathan has $7 in nickels, dimes, and quarters. He has twice as many dimes as nickels, and 3 times as many quarters as nickels. He has 42 coins altogether. How many of each does he have? Okay, so we're going to do this one of 2 ways. We got to determine, first of all, how many nickels, what's going to be the nickels, what's going to be the dimes, and what's going to be the quarters. So you have twice as many dimes as nickels. So let's go down and represent this as our nickels. I'm going to put nick or n right up above, so I don't forget x is going to be my nickels. Now he has twice as many dimes, so he's got twice as many dimes as nickels. X, X, there we go. And he has 3 times as many quarters as nickels. So nickels seems to be the one we're comparing everything to. So that's a good thing we chose nickels to be x. And we got 3 times as many quarters. So whatever many nickels we got double the amount of dimes. There's our D. And we've got triple the amount of quarters. So if we were to add all these 3 up, we'd know exactly how many coins we have total. And what did they tell us? He has 42 coins altogether. So all this is going to equal 42. So now we've just got a simple algebraic expression. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 x's. And how do we get rid of the 6 in front of the x? We simply divide it by 6. So x is going to equal 7. And there. So let's test it out and see if we're right. So if x is 7, that means we got 7 nickels. That's what, 35 cents. We've got 14 dimes, that's $1.40. And then we've got 21 quarters, which I'm running out of, was that $5.25? So all that together should add up to $7 at the very end. So remember, once we know what our standard is or what we're comparing the rest of them to, it's just a matter of writing out all 3 of them and then total. And that should be a pretty straightforward explanation of most of the ones that you've had here. Just remember to figure out what's going to represent your first thing that you don't know, and then figure out what you're comparing it to for the rest. I hope this helped. It was kind of quickly done and rushed, and good luck on your test.